and welcome back to English for You. I'm Erin.
I'm Mike.
And we are talking about mega shippers.
Mega shippers. It's a show on the Discovery Channel, and it's about really big ships and the even bigger people who fill them, load them, drive them, take care of them, and bring things from all corners of the earth to where we live, no matter where you are. If you're buying things in a store, no doubt you're going to buy something that was not made in your home country. It came from a long way away, and really these things don't go by train so much, especially here in Taiwan, which is an island. They don't really come by airplane because that's expensive.
Well, it depends on what it is.
It depends,
if it's small,
but,
maybe.
But most of it doesn't, come by airplane. Most of it comes by ships. So ships basically keep the world economy rolling. They get the cars from Japan to America, the watches from Switzerland to Japan, and fresh fruit and vegetables and food from all over the world to every other part of the world. So if you're buying a pineapple in London, it's not from there.
No.
If you're buying a piece of chocolate in Japan, it's probably not from there either.
If you're buying blueberries in Taiwan,
or blue jeans,
they're definitely not from here.
True.
All right, so let's talk more about the type of cargo that we might see on some of these ships.
Reading.
Mega Shippers Season 2. All of the cargo on mega shippers is valuable. However, there are times when the job is about more than money. In another episode, a team called Move Right in Portsmouth, England, must move 2 World War II tanks so they can be repaired. The machines have to be moved by crane. If they come loose, though, 80 years of military history could be destroyed. In the end, Move Right manages to get the tanks to their destination after hours of careful work. Up north in Rosyth, Scotland, another team is preparing to move something really giant. It's a 65,000-ton aircraft carrier, which can carry more than 70 planes. Right now, it's stuck in a dry dock. To get it out to sea, it will have to be raised with 31 million gallons of water. However, this risks tipping the ship sideways and damaging the dock wall. Will the ship sail, or will it be a Titanic disaster? Like all the projects on mega shippers, it won't be plain sailing.
All right, so the article begins by telling us all of the cargo on mega shippers is valuable. All right, so yesterday we talked about a boat filled with fertilizer. This is plant food. Often they use animal poop. So you might say, that's not valuable, but this boat actually had 278 million NT dollars worth of fertilizer on it. So when you have that much, it is valuable. And of course, many of the other things that they carry, food, clothing, all sorts of things made in factories, up to fancy cars and expensive computers and even airplanes, that stuff is expensive. So when you move it, you also have to take care of it.
Exactly. But let's continue on here.
Okay.
It says, however, there are times when the job is about more than money.
More than money? What is more important than money?
Well, I don't know, actually.
Grammar?
But grammar. Grammar is very important, especially right now. Let's learn more about it.
Otherwise, you'd say things like, me rich.
All right, we are talking about a grammar point, and that grammar point today concerns the word when. Now, in this sentence, the word when became a relative adverb. Now, when this happens, the word when is modifying the word in front of it, which is going to be a type of time word. In that sentence, we used the word when to modify the noun times. Now, to follow when, in this case, we need to explain what is special about these times. Remember, it's still an adverb. Now, the clause, when the job is about more than money, explains this. Now, another way to say it would be, sometimes the job is about more than money. That's just another way of saying the same thing, just without the relative adverb. Now, at the same time, when becomes a conjunction in this case. It connects two ideas together. The first idea it connects is there are times. And the second is the job is about more than money. There are times when the job is about more than money. Now, there's another way we can use when, though, and this time we use it with a comma. So, if your first clause is independent, that means it stands by itself. It has a subject, it has a verb, it has all the information you need. It gives all the information it needs to be complete. In this case, you can use comma when to introduce more but unnecessary information about time. Here's an example. Sager started working as a sports reporter in 1971. This is a complete sentence. You've got the noun or the subject, you have the verb, and then you have the information to explain it. We know who did what at what time. However, you might just want to add a bit more information about Sager. So let's add comma and when to do that. Sager started working as a sports reporter in 1971 when he was only 20 years old. So now we've added more information to talk about Sager. He did this in 1971. Here's more. He was only 20 years old in 1971. The when clause in that sentence added more information that wasn't really necessary, but it kind of adds to our sentence a bit, which is why we use the comma. Now, if the information was necessary for the sentence, you needed it to complete the information, you wouldn't use the comma, just like we saw in the first example. Okay, so there are times when it's more than just money, Mike.
Absolutely. So let's look at a different episode of Mega Shippers. It says in another episode, a team called Move Right in Portsmouth, England must move 2 World War II tanks so they can be repaired.
Okay.
See, I told you, Discovery Channel, they have to have tanks involved
I just
somewhere.
said there was no shooting.
There's no shooting.
There's just no shooting.
These tanks are something that you might see in a museum or maybe in a movie, an old war movie that they're making these days. But of course, they're very valuable, right? Machines from World War II that still work are valuable, but since they're very old, these machines might have to be repaired.
Right.
Now, to repair, this verb basically means to fix. If something is broken, and then you don't throw it away, but you keep it and work on it to try to make it work again, you are repairing that thing. You are fixing that thing. If your motorcycle or bike breaks down or you have an accident and it gets broken in some way, you want to repair or fix your bike because it costs a lot to buy another one and you don't have to. For example, Montgomery took his car to the garage to be repaired.
Good idea,
He needed a new alternator.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
All right,
And
well,
and a spark plug.
let's learn more.
And a fan belt.
Okay.
And brake discs. He didn't need any of those things, actually.
All right, well, let's find out more about how we're going to get these tanks onto this ship.
Yeah, they're big and heavy.
It says the machines have to be moved by crane.
Oh, I thought it was going to be Superman.
Nope. Yeah. What is a crane? A crane is a very tall and strong machine that can be used to move very heavy things. You will see these often in Taiwan, not just in Taipei, but lots of cities across the island. When new buildings are being built, the taller the building gets, the harder it is to get things up there.
Right.
So the crane just lifts things up with a very strong steel cable, pulls it up, and then moves it into the building.
My friend had to rent a crane once to get a piano.
Or a sofa into your apartment.
A big
something
sofa,
like that.
yeah. In Taiwan, the stairs are narrow, and so my friend had a piano, and he got a crane to lift it up to the 5th floor. It was really cool.
All right, well, let's find out a little bit more about what's happening in our article here.
All right, so they've got these 2 big, heavy, but also old and probably expensive World War II tanks. How do you get them from the land onto the boat?
Right.
It says, or how do you move them once you do? If they come loose, though, 80 years of military history could be destroyed. These big, heavy tanks,
Right.
if they're lifting them off the ground, well, that's a good way to try to get them onto the ship. But if they come loose, if they fall and get, hit the ground, or even worse, fall into the water, that could be bad. Yeah,
Right.
when you're moving things, when you're carrying things and you want to keep them safe, you don't want those things to come loose.
Right.
This phrase basically means things that should be tightly strapped on, things that should be, very protected. They get loose. They come undone.
Yeah.
Often when we see people moving things on a car, a truck, they have big straps or bands or ropes or a big cover over it. And as long as that's tied down well and there's not a strong wind, it should be fine. But if things come loose, they're flapping, they can fall off the back of the truck.
Right.
If they're inside the boat and the waves start moving, they can fly around inside the boat. People get hurt, damage gets done. It's bad for everyone. Sorry.
All right. So what happens if one of these tanks that's supposed to be moving through the air onto the ship, what happens if it comes loose and falls? Well, 80 years of military history is destroyed. Now, what is the military? The military is the group of Army, Navy, Air Force, and other sort of army groups that work together to protect a country and the people in it. Now, we often think about the military in terms of war, right?
Sure.
But the military is still there even if there's no war. So in Taiwan, for example, the military often helps during emergencies like typhoons and earthquakes. So they do help people during peace times as well.
That's right.
All right, here's an example. West Point is a famous military school in the US.
Yeah.
In fact, I had a cousin who went to West Point.
Really? General MacArthur?
He wasn't a general, he is a lieutenant. But,
Oh, okay. There you go. So
Right.
if you're into the military, maybe West Point is a good school. A lot of countries, though, have their own military
Right.
schools. And here in Taiwan, they also have military hospitals, right?
Yeah.
The Tri-Service General Hospital. It's a military hospital. So there you go. The military does lots of other things, but of course, protecting the country is their main job. Anyways, back to our show, back to our article. In the end, Move Right manages to get the tanks to their destination after hours of careful work. Phew, nothing fell, nothing got lost, nothing got damaged, and they reached their destination. Your destination is where you're going. If you leave somewhere, well, that's fine, but where are you going? What's your destination? When you get to the airport, your destination will be on your ticket. You look up at that big board and say, oh, when does our plane leave? The plane to Tokyo, your destination, leaves at 3 o'clock. It's the place that you are traveling to.
Right. Okay, so the destination for these tanks obviously is on the ship.
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All
or
right,
wherever
so
the ship is going.
We've
Yeah.
solved another problem.
Phew.
Okay, we've got the tanks on the ship.
Yes.
We've got a new situation here. It says up north in Rosyth or Rosyth. I'm not really sure how to say this town name,
I
but
think it'd be Rosyth.
Rosyth. It's in Scotland, so up north in Rosyth, Scotland, another team is preparing to move something really giant.
Something even bigger than tanks?
Yes.
Wow.
All right, what do we mean by giant? Let's find out now. Okay, we are talking about the adjective giant here, and we use this adjective, giant, to describe something huge or, of course, much, much bigger than humans. Now, the noun form of the adjective giant is also giant, and we use the noun to talk about often a mythical human that is much bigger than normal humans. You might think to your Harry Potter books and think of Hagrid, who is kind of like a half giant, but we know he's really big, and then the giants are even bigger than him. Now here's an example. Amy and 3 of her friends ordered a giant ice cream sundae for them to share. Now here, of course, this sundae is not bigger than the humans. What we're saying is that this sundae is much bigger than a normal sundae for just one person. So you might have 5 scoops of ice cream and lots of chocolate on top of it instead of just 1 scoop of ice cream. What giant thing are they moving?
It's bigger than 2 tanks?
Yes.
Is it heavier than $1 million of fertilizer?
Yes.
How about a 65,000-ton aircraft carrier?
You are correct.
Yeah, I guessed it. Totally guessed it. I didn't. I just read it because it says it's a 65,000-ton aircraft carrier, which can carry more than 70 planes.
That's bigger than even one plane.
Why are they putting a boat on another boat?
Well,
An aircraft carrier is a boat or a ship. Why don't they just move it like that?
well,
That's like, hey, I got a bicycle. Put your bicycle on my bicycle and I'll take your bicycle to where we bicycle.
they're not actually putting the boat on the boat.
Oh, I see.
Right.
Okay, well,
Okay.
that's
They
good.
do have to move the boat.
I get it.
Just not on another boat.
Good. They
Okay.
know what they're doing.
Yes.
I was worried. All right, so what are they trying to do with this aircraft
Well,
carrier?
let's find out what situation it's in. It says right now it's stuck in a dry dock.
Oh,
Okay.
a dry dock. That's
So-
basically where they fix boats.
That's where they fix boats.
Or
That's
build
where
them.
they build boats. So it's basically a place in a port that will eventually go out into the water, but it's dry so that you can go down.
It's like a bathtub for a
yeah,
boat.
build the boat up from the bottom and kind of make it into a thing.
Fill it back with water and
Yeah.
move it out. But to reach the bottom of the boat, they have to empty it. That's
Right.
why it's a dry dock. All right, so what do? Well, to get it out to sea, it will have to be raised with 31 million gallons of water. Okay, so basically think of someone sitting in a bathtub with no water, and once you fill the bathtub with water, that person will be sort of lifted by the water, much easier to move around.
Right.
But you have to get a lot of water in it before you can move it out to sea. When we
Right.
talk about things being out to sea, this can be an expression meaning you don't understand what's going on. But here we don't use it as an expression. It means exactly what it says. If you're in a harbor, in a port, in a dock, tied up to the land, the ship is not out to sea, but once it leaves the land and gets out there a few miles, it is out to sea. It
Right.
is where it naturally would be
If it is a boat.
if it's a boat.
All right. Well, okay, so we know what we have to do. We have to fill the dry dock with the water
Right.
and move the ship out.
Uh-huh.
However,
Oh.
this risks tipping the ship sideways boop, and damaging the dock wall.
Okay.
Okay, so there are always risks, all right? Now, here we used risk as a verb, and when you risk something, you put yourself or something else in a situation where it might be damaged, killed, destroyed, or otherwise hurt. Now, adding so much water to the dock could make the ship kind of go from this to this.
Oh, that's not
Which, you know, when something that heavy and that big tips over, it's going to damage the dock and probably the ship too.
good. Millions of dollars of damage. People could get hurt too.
Right.
Yeah.
And so doing this, we would call this a risk, that's the noun form, or you risking safety and property to do this, that's the verb form. That means people or things could be hurt in some way. Here's an example. If you don't wear a helmet while riding a skateboard, you risk hurting your head.
Yeah, if you
It's true.
fall and you hit your head.
And your bike and your
And
motorcycle.
yeah, lots of other your head cracking activities. Wear a helmet.
Yep.
Because things can fall, things can lose their balance, things can tip. And when they tip, they could end up falling. Basically, to tip is to lose your balance, okay? If you stand on one foot, hey, no problem. Look, I'm on one foot. But if Aaron suddenly pushed me on one side, I would start to tip. There are these things that are not really heavy at the bottom. If they're heavy in the middle or the top, it's much easy for them to fall over, to lose their balance, or to tip over. For example, we could say the bottle tipped over when Jebediah bumped into it. He hit it with his elbow, it tipped over. If it had been, lower and fatter like a book, it wouldn't be easy to tip over a book if it's lying on the table. But a bottle is tall and narrow, it can tip, and if it tips, it will probably tip sideways.
That's right.
In some direction.
Now, sideways is an adverb, and when something moves sideways, it moves to or toward one side instead of another. So if I look sideways, I turn my head to one side.
She does.
And if I want to turn to the other side, this is me moving my head sideways.
Okay.
All right.
All right, we also had the verb to damage. Yeah, the ship could be damaged if it tips and hits the side of the dry dock. If something gets damaged, basically it gets hurt. All right, we often use damage though for things. People will get hurt. people will get injured. If you fall off your bike, you'll hurt yourself. If you get knocked down playing a sport, you might injure yourself. But if you scratch your car, if you drop your phone and the glass breaks, then we wouldn't say I hurt my phone or I injured my phone. We would say I damaged my phone. It's not broken. It could still work. You can still get it fixed. You don't have to buy a new one, but there was an accident. Some problem did come up. There is something on it that is broken. It has been damaged. For example, Priscilla damaged her glasses when she sat on them. Yeah, don't sit on your glasses. That'll definitely damage them.
All right, so we need to find out this question here. Will this ship sail or will it be a Titanic disaster?
Like the Titanic?
Kind of.
It's going to hit ice?
No.
Jack's going to die?
No.
Rose won't let him on the door?
How did we use the word Titanic here? Well, it just means huge.
Oh, it's not a big T Titanic, it's a small T Titanic.
Right, so even bigger than giant even. And it can take on other meanings of big. It can also mean very impressive or very strong. Titanic strength.
Oh, wow. Do you have Titanic strength? You do. She does.
I'm not a superhero.
Wow.
All right, so if the people moving the ship make a mistake, what we're saying is that it could be a huge disaster and cost millions and millions of dollars.
That's right. Titanic isn't the most common adjective, but if you really want to talk about something that's really big, almost bigger than you can imagine, that might be the word to use.
Right.
But we don't want to have a Titanic disaster, either with the boat, the Titanic, or anything else.
Right.
Because a disaster is basically just a huge accident, something bad that happens.
Right.
All right. It could be an accident, like a plane crash could be a disaster. It could also be something caused by nature, like an earthquake or a typhoon.
Right.
That could be a disaster, or disasters that people create. You know, if you do something really stupid, like you erase all of your homework off your computer, you might go, oh, it's a disaster.
Exactly.
It's a huge mistake, a huge problem. It will be hard to fix this situation. So there, we use Titanic as an adjective to talk about a big problem, a big disaster, but of course also everyone thinks of the boat, the Titanic. So I guess you could say
was a disaster.
The Titanic sinking was a Titanic disaster.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was a really big disaster with a boat called the Titanic.
All right, so we're at the end of our article here today. It says, like all the projects on mega shippers, it won't be plain sailing.
Plain sailing.
All right, well, we've thrown in another idiom here, another phrase you should know. That is today's pocket phrase, go, be plain sailing. Find out what it means now, and we'll be right back after that for our For You chat.
Pocket phrase, go!
Bye, Jafar! Yes! Jafar is so dumb. 真的是聪明反被聪明误啊。Jafar turned into a genie and is now trapped in the lamp forever. 哈哈，现在我跟 Aladdin 应该都不用担心了。I hope everything will be plain sailing from now on. 希望我们以后都可以一帆风顺，再也不会遇到什么神经病啊，或是乱象了。对了，刚刚我是不是提到 be plain sailing 就是指一帆风顺？其实类似的说法还有 smooth sailing or clear sailing， 还有 easy sailing， 全部都有种事情进行得很顺利这样的意思啦。比方像是做作业报告的，或是做报告的时候哦，如果呢撑过最难的部分，通常可能就是起头难啦，但是后面都会很顺利。这时候你就可以这么说啦 ：After we solved the most difficult part of the assignment, the rest was plain sailing. A whole new world.
For You chat.
All right, so our chat question is about something that could have been a Titanic disaster, but it actually worked out. Basically, the question is, when have you felt under pressure to get something completely right? how did you deal with it? And of course, the idea here is something difficult that you had to get completely right.
Right.
How did you deal with it? How did you handle it? What did you do?
Well, I used to work in the theater.
Okay.
And I did not work on the stage. I worked behind the stage.
You were the stage manager?
Yeah, I was the stage manager.
Okay.
And basically, I run everything that happens on the stage.
Right.
And so that's a lot of things to remember, a lot of people to put in the right places, props to be in the right places.
You're like the main organizer.
Yeah, I have to organize everything.
Right.
And if it goes wrong, then something happens wrong on stage. Then actors forget their lines. And
What happened?
well, nothing has happened because I did it all right.
Oh, phew. I thought like someone showed up and they forgot to wear pants.
All right. Well, how do I deal with it? I prepare. I just do everything
There you go.
Prepare in advance, make sure everybody knows what they need to know and that they don't forget it.
Make lists.
Yes, lots and lots
Long
of lists.
of everything you need to remember. That's a good way to do it. And the other thing is, if you do have a problem, stay calm and think about the problem.
How can you fix it right now?
Don't freak out and start crying or blaming other people. Keep calm and carry on.
Yes.
As someone
you could say
said
that.
once.
All right, well, we are at the end of today's article. You can talk about this chat question too. Then you can go on and watch Mega Shippers.
Mega Shippers!
But we are all finished for today. So, for English for You, I'm Erin.
I'm Mike.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Mega Shippers Season 2. All of the cargo on Mega Shippers is valuable. However, there are times when the job is about more than money. In another episode, a team called Move Right in Portsmouth, England, must move 2 World War II tanks so they can be repaired. The machines have to be moved by crane. If they come loose, though, 80 years of military history could be destroyed. In the end, Move Right manages to get the tanks to their destination after hours of careful work. Up north in Rosyth, Scotland, another team is preparing to move something really giant. It's a 65,000-ton aircraft carrier, which can carry more than 70 planes. Right now, it's stuck in a dry dock. To get it out to sea, it will have to be raised with 31 million gallons of water. However, this risks tipping the ship sideways and damaging the dock wall. Will the ship sail, or will it be a Titanic disaster? Like all the projects on Mega Shippers, it won't be plain sailing.
Vocabulary Review.
Repair. My car stopped working last month, and I paid someone to repair it. Military. This building is home to a lot of military families since it's near the base. Giant. This is a giant airport, so it takes a while to get around it. Risk. The ship's captain will not risk setting sail in this storm. Tip. The kid pushed the glass until it tipped over and fell. Damage. I think I damaged my phone when I dropped it. Now it won't turn on.
智慧小补帖
Destination. Sideways. Titanic. Disaster.
以上节目是由活用空中美语制作，活用空中美语杂志，请洽询全国各大书店。如欲索取试听教材，请来电02-2364-4000 02-2364-4000，或上网查询，网址是 www.english4u.net www.english4u.net